to the channel, everyone. I hope that you'll subscribe and like so I can keep making these videos for you. Anyway, it is October, and as I've said on a few of these other videos, especially in the Christmas section, this is the time of the year I start relearning or learning new Christmas songs, because I want to have a month to get everything nice and sharp, because Thanksgiving is basically the beginning of the Christmas holiday time, when you're going to be playing for friends and family at gatherings, or playing gigs where you throw in the Christmas mix. So anyway, this one is the Vince Guaraldi song that's obviously famous from Charlie Brown, and pretty much everybody knows it. I don't think there's any age group that doesn't know the song, and it's just a really pretty song, and really kind of weird, jazzy kind of tune, and it's not that hard to play. The chords are a little strange. They're jazzy. It's also another housekeeping note, it's in like a 3/4 time. It's in 3/4 time with kind of like a waltzy feel, but it's a slow waltz. And then also this song, the original Vince Guaraldi on Charlie Brown and everything, is in F. And I'm going to play this in E, and there's a couple reasons for that. First and foremost, I like to have my open E. And I like to play even on the first chords. This way I can play this E major 7, which is the first chord of the, I guess the A part you would call it. So anyway, that's what you need to know also for the basics. So I'm going to play it in E, and the first chord of the first section and of the intro is going to be E major 7. So the other thing that I think it's good to know right at the outset of the song is that you're going to be doing like a lot of walking down. So walk down chromatically. So half step. So what do I mean by that? Well, you're going to see that that's the way the chords walk down. So if you have that in your head, then the song is not so daunting, because otherwise you're just kind of like copying a bunch of weird chord shapes that you're not used to using. Another thing is that, typically if you're going to, I play my G sharp minor 7 would look like this, where I mute the A string with this finger. But you're going to have to do some finger style, because you're going to be taking your bar across this whole bar for the G sharp minor 7, and then the G minor 7, and then the F sharp minor 7. And so when you do that, if you're not finger picking, then you're going to hit that note which you really don't want to hit on the A string. Alright? And so then there's this walk down on the second strings and the third strings, and that's also something to keep in mind, because almost every one of the chords has some interplay on this second and third string. So for instance, the major 7, it starts the song, I'm going to play it here, you could play it here. If you play it here, you're going so you're raking the strings, and so you're raking down to the high E, and then hitting the B twice, and then the third string, the G string, once. Okay? If you were to play it with this other E major 7, which is not one I routinely use but sounds good on this song, you're going to go, so you're hitting the high E twice, and then the second string. And so there's just going to be a lot of that going on. And so if you have your mindset on that, then I think it's going to make this song a lot easier to digest. And it's Alright, so those tips really should prepare you to tackle this song. It's not an easy song though. I'm going to say that you really, it's if you haven't done a lot of bar chords in a while, if you're playing a lot of jazz chords even, it's tough because you're having a bar and you will hear me just like I just did. There'll be a little buzz. And so when I first did this lesson, I recorded this on my Taylor, but the strings are just too heavy and you can hear the buzz a little more, so this has a lower action. And I played it on the electric. It's much easier on the electric and you don't have any of that buzz problem. So if you're going to be playing electric, great, but for me, most of these Christmas songs I'm going to be playing on acoustic, either at the gigs or for the family. So anyway, just a precautionary tale. All right, so the first two chords are just an E major 7 twice, and you're going to do that. So you're going to be plucking out that little melody with the top strings. Now, if you play this E major 7 to this D9 sharp 11, and so let me just remind you, there's your D9, which you probably should be familiar with, but if you're a real newcomer, you don't even know your D9. But the D9 is here, and then this note here is the sharp 11. So if you're a SteelyDave fan, you've seen that in quite a few songs. In any event, you're going to go for this strange E major 7, and you're going to hit this high E string. So you're going high twice, once, and then you're going to land on the D9 on sharp 11. So one more time. And then again, you're going to do it. And then you can, if you listen to Vince Guaraldi or you hear anybody play the song, and then there's a little jam in the middle of it, you hear that sometimes you're going to go, and when you get better at the song, you'll find that you kind of want to play around, you'll noodle on the arpeggio. So you go like, so, and just hold it and pluck it, or you can go. And so I did that on some of them, and then some of the verses I just did the chord. And so you also want to make sure that you're raking some of these, and others of them you may want to just pluck. So you see I'm doing these strings in unison, and these I'm raking. And you can even rake all of them, shorter or longer, but just keep that in mind that you do have to do a little bit of a rake. So anyway, just so that you have options, I think this is an easier E major 7, probably familiar to a lot more players. And if you do this E major 7, you can go back up to this D9 sharp 11, or you can go to this D9 sharp 11. So this one's a little bit easier. And so anyway, those two chords, I'm showing them on the screen. If you're going to do those, then instead of plucking on the high E and the B like you did with this E major 7, you're going to pluck here. You're going to pluck on the second and the third, the B and the G. You're going to go. So you want to hit that high E on the rake, and then the B, and then the G, to the D9. And again, you could do that D9 here. So if you don't want to fly all the way down the neck, you just go. All right, so then after you've done those two chords twice, the E major 7 to the D9 sharp 11, then you're going to go, then you're going to do the part A walk down. Now this part A walk down is fairly easy compared to the part B walk down, but you just do a couple of strange chords here. So first and foremost, you're going to do this minor 7 flat 5. So you play two minor 7 flat 5s. You're playing a B flat minor 7 flat 5, which the normal formation that most people use is this one, but you're going to use this strange one here. It's going to look like this. Then you're going to go down a half step to the A minor 7 flat 5. Then you're going to go to a flat minor 7. Then you're going to go down to a G minor 7. Then you're going to go down to a G flat minor 7. Then you're going to go to this B11. So you can see the walk down right there. These are the chords and these are the chord diagrams. But this is just probably the trickiest one, is just jumping to this B flat minor 7 flat 5. Now some people call that a half diminished. I don't like to use that term. I think it's confusing because I usually I love my diminished 7th chords, and I call those diminished chords. I call this a minor 7 flat 5. So anyway, but if you're wondering about that, that's your half diminished. Anyway, this is the typical formation. This is a B flat in the bass. That's the root, and that would be your minor 7 flat 5, and then that would be your A minor 7 flat 5, which is what you're going to play. But you play this one so that you can get those melody notes. All right, and so you do want to learn how to jump from this, and then the next chord's going to be B flat minor 7 flat 5 to A flat minor 7 to G minor 7, and then to G flat minor 7, and then to this B11, and that same melody note. All right, so one more time, let me show that a little slower. So you start out with your and then you're going to your walk down, B flat minor 7 flat 5, this one. So you're strumming, you're raking, and you're hitting that B string twice. Then you're going to pick these three together, the 6, the 4, and the 3, and then you're going to take this B note. This is a D sharp. You want to play this note of the A minor 7 flat 5 separately. So you're going to take these three strings together, 6, 4, 3. All right. So again, the melody is being plucked out on the 2nd string. You start with this B flat minor 7 flat 5. I'm hitting that, raking to that high E string. Then twice on the B string. These three together. Then that as the melody note. Then we're going to go with this A flat minor 7, but I'm going to have this pinky on this note right here, right? And that's a G flat. So I'm taking this all together. Then I'm going to walk down a half step again. Remember where we're taking everything in half steps. And then this is just the G minor. Again, and it all has to do with what strings you're plucking with your right. So your right hand's hitting the 6, 4, 3, 2. And you go, and this time, instead of starting like you did with the A flat minor 7, you're not going to go. You're going to go the opposite direction. You're going to start with the chord. So you're going to go. And notice that this note is walked down a little. So you started with this. So you're walking down that pinky 2. And then you go to this chord, which is your G flat minor 7. All right. And so again, let me just run through those real quickly. Again, chord, note, and then this is a B11. Now you could call this an A, because there's your there's your A chord with a B over it. So you could just say that A over B. And you're going to hit that same melody note. And then to the E major 9. And you can play this E major 9 if you prefer. And you don't have to hit the open E. I just like that. You could just go. Or. All right. So the whole walk down again is. Now, I call this a B11. Again, picture it this way. This is your A chord with a B in the bass. So it's an A over B, right? This is an A chord with the B, A over B. And so anyway, that's what I call an 11 chord it has all the same notes in it as an 11, a B11, okay? And so you can also look at it as a G flat minor 7 over a B, okay? Same notes, really, okay? Because you're hitting just the mid-side 4. All right, so you hit that melody note there again. All right, so again, one more time, we're going. Okay, and so you do that twice. So you're going to go and back into this part again. Twice, and then we go for the walk down. All right, and so that's the A section. Now after the A section, then you're going to go to the B section. So the B section starts out with A major 7, in this case it's C major 7, to this chord, which is a, so we're starting out with a C major 7, to this chord, which is a B7 flat 9 sharp 5. Now this is actually in a lot of SteelyDave songs too. It's just a really colorful, sort of dissonant jazz chord, but you'll see that in Black Cow, Home at Last. Just a very spicy little meatball kind of a chord. And so, and again, you could just pluck it, or you can do that and then hit it arpeggio, which I did on the playthrough. Again, the second time though, just like in the other A part, you're going to do these two chords twice. So this time, instead of the E major 7 to the D9 sharp 11, you're doing A. You're doing a C sharp, a C major 7 to the B7 flat 9 sharp 5. And the second time you do that, though, you're going, and you're going to hit this note instead of going. You're going to go. So the first one is, all right, and then the second time is, all right, and then you're going to do the B walk down, all right. So after we do that twice, then we do this walk down. Now this is a very similar walk down. You're going to start on this A minor 7. A flat minor 7, sorry, A flat minor 7, but instead of doing this note, you're going to be hitting this sharp 9. And so, just like before, in the A section, where you're walking down on the second string, this time you're mostly going to walk down on the first string. So you're going to go, and then you're going to make this little D9. So that's the second chord, and you're doing this melody line, dun, dun. And then you're going to just drop this finger flat across, and now remember I said that was the B11 or the A over B. Here you're going to call this a B over C sharp or a C sharp 11. You go, and again we're repeating this note, and now we're going to play our C sharp 7 flat 9. So you may recognize this little chord, very useful, very common chord in jazz and SteelyDave songs. So here you're going to go. All right. So again, just to back up, we're starting with the A flat minor 7. Then we're doing the the C sharp 7 flat 9. And then we're going to drop down to this G flat minor 7. And this time we're going to also use the high string. Then we're going to go to the C9. And we're going to hit this note here in the melody. And then we're going to hit this very pretty full diminished 7. D sharp diminished 7. Alright, so here's the whole walk down. It starts on, we'll do this C7 twice. And here's the walk down. And then back to your E major 7 and your D9 sharp 11. All right, so that's the whole song. And like I said earlier, you play the A section twice, then you play the B section once, then you play the A section one more time, and that's pretty much the nucleus. All right, so one last thing, just to rewind for a second. If you notice on the playthrough, I play the intro, and the intro is very pretty. When you're just a single guitarist, probably not as dramatic because you don't have these lovely brushes on the drum, but it goes like this. All right, and so what that is just a E major 7 with that open E. And the pickup's in E flat. So you're going to hit that little E flat right before you. Alright, so once again it's just an E major 7. And this is a G major 7, but over an E bass. So it's really a E minor 9. And then the pickup is. So one more time. Got it? All right. Enjoy. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And hope you learned a lot. And please subscribe and like. Thanks.